All right. Jim's speech is on effective coaching, building a social media presence. His speech is titled How to Clean a Clock. And he will tell us how to clean a clock and how, through his social media presence, he has acquired more clocks to clean and repair. Please welcome Jim Marquardt, Distinguished Toastmaster, to the virtual lectern. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. It is a great honor to give you my experience as a cleaner of movements. I do not clean clocks, although I've had people threaten to clean my clock when I said something they didn't like. Clocks are a whole object. If you have a clock, you have a cabinet, you have a dial, and you have a movement. People say, well, I have a clock here. Well, yes, in one sense, they do have a clock because it's whole unit. But that one unit, and this might confuse you. Of course, there's many riddles to cleaning a movement, but the thing that's most important is when someone says to you, well, I need my clock clean, what they're really saying is, I need to have the movement clean. The reason I start doing this cleaning of the movements is so that people would know that I can do just more than shoot a gun or make salsa or make jam. And what got me into cleaning movements is I was offered a grandfather clock. And the offer was, if you fix this grandfather clock or you clean it, you can have it until you pass away, and then we'd like it to go back to the family. Mind you, I am not an expert in cleaning movements. However, I've learned a lot of things about a movement, about the clock, and about grandfather clocks, and about mantle clocks, about wall clocks. And the most important thing is they generally have the same movement, whether it's made by Hermle, Klingelor, or an Indian movement. They're pretty much designed the same way. When I take a clock apart, I'm not worried about the movement, whether it's dirty or it's clean. Most of the movements that I see, the movements are dirty. And as you notice, I have gloves on. And the reason I have gloves on is because the movement I'm going to show you is clean. And it's really, really important that when you handle a movement, and especially after you've cleaned it, that you do not have your oily hands on it. And you say, my hands aren't oily. Well, yes, there is oil in your hands, and it can actually collect the dirt. And remember, your parents always saying, wash your hands, wash your hands. Well, there was a reason they had you wash your hands. This is about the only time that I really look white with white gloves. And this is what comes. Oh, there's one of the clocks that I fixed. And you know I fixed it because it's dinging. And it dings the right time. And which should have said correctly, it gonged at the right time. Some have bells, some have gongs, some have just a little bit of noise. The movement I want to show you today, this is an Indian movement. This was made by people in India. And I don't know if you can see it, but the butterfly moved a little bit. And again, when you touch a movement, you want to have rubber gloves on. This movement has been put in a cleaning solution for 5 minutes, and it's been put in a rinse solution for 5 minutes. And you say, Jim, what's the riddle here? Why only 5 minutes? The thing about it is, you look at this, and there's a plating, it's gold plating. And if you leave that in the wash cycle too long, you can actually eat that plating away. And in every little movement, there is bushings in here. And you can actually deteriorate the bushing by leaving it in the cleaning solution. This is a standard movement for a mantle clock. And each movement can be a different size, but they still run on the same principle, gears. And if you look at this one here, you see this one here? This one has springs, okay? If I can, there we go. This one has springs. The one that I first repaired ran off a chain. Another movement that I'm working on has cables. I prefer to work on the movements that have cables, or excuse me, rather chains rather than cables, because cables have a tendency to twist when you pull the weights off. This one you wind up, there's a winder here, and the cables, you draw the weights down or you lift the weights up to make the movement tick. And someone asked me, they says, well, can you fix my grandmother clock? And he says, do you work on grandmother clocks? Well, believe it or not, grandfathers are more important than grandmothers, but they do make grandmother clocks. And if you look real close, you can see this is actually working. That means I've done my job. And when you've cleaned the clock, when you've cleaned the movement, rather, when it starts moving by itself, then you know that you've done the job right. This cleaning of the movement, I charge $75. The standard fee is $150, and that's only for cleaning and oiling. The recommended time is you clean it every 5 years and you oil it every 2 to 3 years. And most of the time, the reason a movement does not work is because it's dirty. It's not because the parts are worn out, but it's because it's dirty. Now, I have one other movement that I'm working on that it needs a verge, which makes the escape wheel turn. The verge makes the escape wheel turn, which runs the whole system. And I did have to order that part. This is just a small portion of what I've been doing since I've been cleaning movements. I've cleaned 9 movements with the success of all the movements working. And that has been because of social media advertising the work that I've done. And again, if you know of anybody that needs a movement worked on, let me know. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.